What's up, everyone? It's Caddy with MoneyVest, and today we are going to be talking about Starbucks, ticker symbol SBUX. A lot of you have been asking for an update and analysis on this company. So we're going to take a look at the entire business. We're going to do a fundamental and technical analysis to basically identify intrinsic values and technical support and resistance levels as well. As always, if you enjoy this video, find it helpful, make sure that you drop a like and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. If you're just joining us for the first time, the links to our Discord and Patreon is going to be down below if you're interested in joining, and of course getting access to all the members only private videos. That 16% annual discount is available for a couple more days if you are interested in joining, and of course getting access to all the members only private videos, the buy and sell alerts, and all the Discord channels as well. So when it comes to Starbucks, as we already know, it is one of the best and most recognized coffee chains in the world. I absolutely love Starbucks. Going to Starbucks most days. Of course, coffee prices are a little bit more on the expensive side for this brand, which is why I do prefer making my own. But when I am out and about, if I'm traveling, of course, Starbucks is kind of like my go-to place for most cold brews. I do enjoy black coffee. I don't like lattes. I mean, I do prefer, I like lattes and espressos and stuff as well, cappuccinos, but it breaks my fast. So in the morning, I'm only drinking black coffee or cold brews, which of course Starbucks offers. So our products, Starbucks offers a range of exceptional products that customers enjoy in our stores, at home, and on the go, and more than 30 blends and single origin premium coffees. Hard handcrafted beverages, fresh brewed coffee, hot and iced espresso beverages, teas, Starbucks cold brew, frappuccino blended beverages, and Starbucks refreshers beverages as well. Fresh food, baked pastries, sandwiches, salads, proteins boxes, oatmeal, yogurt, and snacks, and of course a lot of other consumer products that are also included for Starbucks, and it has kind of performed very similar to the S&P and the nasdaq as well as S&P consumer discretionary is where this stock basically lives in terms of its performance. Now, when it comes to fiscal year 2023 earnings at a glance, the CFO, which is Rachel Ruggieri, basically said, and I quote, "Our strong fiscal year 2023 performance demonstrated our durable long-term growth and reinvention plan execution, and we're proud that our fiscal year 24 guidance will be grounded on a balance sheet of both revenue growth and margin expansion." And we did see global net revenues of just over $36 billion. That's a 12% increase year over year. And when you take a look at some of the comparable sales, 9% growth in the US, 8% growth globally, and 5% growth in China. And non-GAAP operating margin of 16%, that's a 100 basis point increase, and non-GAAP EPS of $3.54, that's a 20% increase for the company as well. So this is the overall results for the fourth quarter and full year fiscal year 2023. For the fourth quarter, I believe 9.4 billion, 11% growth year over year, and sixth highest sales weeks ever, successful of a fall launch of USCO innovation-wise, and of course digital orders also coming in super strong in the US, 33 million 90-day active members, and 21 million plus active members on a 90-day basis in China as well. Now, when it comes to the fiscal year 24 guidance, the global revenue they're expecting in the low end of 10 to 12%. Operating margins expansion a little bit, capital expenditures of $3 billion, and GAAP and non-GAAP tax rates of mid-20s to somewhat higher in fiscal year 2023, and full year EPS GAAP 15 to 20%, and non-GAAP around 15 to 20% growth for the company as well. So that's actually a very, very strong growth rate for Starbucks, and they expect to see a $400 billion in total addressable market for coffee. So that is definitely a pretty big market for Starbucks. $400 billion in the next 3 years is what they are expecting, and a roughly growth of about 8.5% in the coffee market for Starbucks. So in terms of revenue, they have seen very, very nice consistent growth from $16.4 billion in revenue in 2014 all the way to over almost $34 billion. And gross profit has gone from just under $5 billion to over 9.8, almost $10 billion for the company as well. And of course, operating income has gone from $2.8 billion to over $5.5 billion. So very, very nice consistent growth here in revenues, gross profits, and operating income. Net income has also moved in the right direction. So it has gone from a little bit over $2 billion to now more than doubled at over $4.1 billion. And of course, we do have the diluted share count also increasing. So diluted EPS has gone from $1.31 to over $3.58. So that's almost 3 times. And diluted shares outstanding also with the consistent buybacks from 1.5 billion shares to now sitting at 1.1 billion shares for the company as well. So we got consistently growing revenues, consistently growing margins, consistently growing profitability and cash flows and net income, while also share buybacks are in play, with dividend per share also increasing from half half a dollar, which is 55 cents per share, to over $2 per share for the company as well. So all the check marks, most check marks are good, and it's a very, very strong brand and great moat that Starbucks carries. So when it comes to the balance sheet, now this is where things get interesting because the company does not have the best balance sheet. They are sitting on almost $4 billion of cash with total debt sitting at over $24 billion. So net debt is a little bit over $20 billion. So they've got more debt than cash on the balance sheet, with current and quick ratio also sitting at under 1. And of course, debt to free cash flow also pretty high at over 11.4, 11.5. So those right there are going to be some of the numbers. So balance sheet wise, of course, it is not the best right now for Starbucks. Now, if you take a look at the actual valuation grid, so 22, 24 times earnings is where we are. So pretty reasonable, pretty decent for valuation for Starbucks. And price to sales is going to be sitting a little bit over 2, almost 3. And price to cash flow at over 17, almost 18 times. And enterprise value to EBITDA over 15 to 18 for the company as well. So we've got pretty reasonable, pretty decent valuation for Starbucks. And of course, from a price to earnings perspective, 22 to 24 times is where we are when it comes to the valuation. Now, this right here is going to be some of those margins. So Starbucks does have pretty solid margins, at net margins sitting at over 11.5%, gross margins at over 27%, EBITDA margins at over 19, almost 20%, and of course 11.5% profit margins, with return on total capital, assets, and equity also pretty good, pretty solid. And the net income per employee, so in other words, profit per employee, has now increased to almost $11,000 from an average of $8,500. So the company has become somewhat more efficient over time as well. And the expectations for earnings are going to be from $4.14 all the way to as much as $15 per share by the year 2033. And by 2029, it's expected to be $9.23. So once we plug in some of these numbers for Starbucks, we are looking at a growth rate of, let's take a look, it's going to be 2029 of about 17%. This is actually pretty solid when you consider, for a company that has already established so much. So the growth rate is, again, pretty solid at over 17, 18% for the business. So $4.14, so 1151 times $4.14, we're looking at a net income of just under $4.8 billion. So $4.8 billion here. We grow them at an 18% growth rate. Expected P multiple of, let's say, 20 times. Discount rate, we can go a little bit lower considering that Starbucks does pay out a decent dividend of about 2.4%. So we can actually go down to as low as 9% here, or maybe even 9.5% for discount rate. Margin of safety, 10%, 1% share buybacks, and we arrive at a fair value for Starbucks at $116. So many people could argue that Starbucks right now is indeed undervalued considering the growth rate expected for this company, which is around 17 to 18%. Like, even if you go a little bit conservative, 16% and a 20 times P multiple, even then the stock can be considered undervalued by 15%, with the fair value sitting at about $106 per share. So if you try to kind of match some of these numbers, if you go with, let's say, 18 times price to earnings multiple and a 14% growth, we're looking at 5% overvaluation here. $88 is going to be that fair value. So 14% growth in earnings and 18 times price earnings multiple puts the fair value at $88 per share for Starbucks, which again is quite reasonable. That's going to be in line with this sort of support level right here, $89 to $90 per share. And this has been the overall sort of price action for Starbucks, where it's mostly traded sideways. So this right here has been the range within which Starbucks has been trading. So it's been going up and down and all over the place, with a very strong resistance all the way up to 109 to as much as $104, $105. And of course, support level right over here at $96, with another support right over here at 89, close to $90 per share. So that is going to be that support level to keep in mind for Starbucks. So lots of consolidation sideways. So that's really where we are for this company. But in my opinion, I think with conservative estimates, one could argue that Starbucks is indeed undervalued given where it's trading at the moment, and $88, $88, $89 being the fair value for Starbucks at the moment. So let me know in the comment section down below, what do you think? I think Starbucks is a stock worth considering, in my opinion. The only concern would be the balance sheet, which is not the best, but of course it's got a very strong moat. It's got a large addressable market. It's got a growing user base, very, very strong advantage over competitors in terms of the competition that it carries. The brand value itself is very strong, and not to mention consistently growing revenues, profits, earnings, and share buybacks, and a dividend yield. It does definitely offer a lot of value, in my opinion, at 89, close to $90 per share for a good dividend portfolio. So that's something to keep in mind for Starbucks. So hope you guys enjoyed this video and found it helpful. Let me know in the comment section down below, what do you think about this business? What do you think about this company? And make sure that you drop a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And of course, links to our Discord and Patreon is going to be down below if you want to join. Of course, be a part of our Money Invest community, get access to all the other updates, including buy and sell alerts, options alerts, trade ideas, members only videos, and happy investing. And I'll see you all in the next video.